Minister, the Taoiseach outlined Ireland's Global Footprint 2025 at an Enterprise Ireland breakfast in Toronto during his visit to Canada in August. And I want to ask you if you would expand on that announcement made by the Taoiseach about the government's plans to double Ireland's footprint, the implications for your department, and what preparations have been made for same. In particular, has there been preparatory work? Is there a plan? Is there a schedule? Are there costings? And most importantly, was your department actually aware of the announcement in advance of the Taoiseach making same in Canada?
Minister.
Thank you, Cathaoirleach, and thank you to Deputy O'Brien for raising this issue. The ambition set out by the Taoiseach to double Ireland's global footprint by 2025 reflects the scale and the complexity of the challenges we face in the years ahead. These include Brexit-related challenges, but also those from growing protectionism internationally, the need to continue the fight for justice, for peace, for equality and for sustainable development. Our response includes the further diversification of our markets for trade and investment and the building of alliances to underpin the rules-based international trading system that has served smaller countries like Ireland so well. It must also include a renewed commitment to the fight against global poverty and hunger, protecting human rights and to the United Nations peacekeeping efforts. Now more than ever, Ireland needs a strong voice internationally to protect our values and our interests. We're determined to play our part into support of multilateralism at this time of significant global instability, as reflected in our candidature for membership of the United Nations Security Council for 2021 and 2022. Following the Taoiseach's announcement, the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade has begun to examine options to significantly expand our footprint and to influence internationally in consultation with other departments and other agencies. This includes augmenting our existing diplomatic presence overseas, as well as in some cases opening new missions where most impactful. At the same time, we have to ensure that the vital service and the policy supports at headquarters are up to task. Any additional expenditure must be consistent with value for money principles and provide clear benefits for the state. Decisions will be also guided by Ireland Connected, the trade and the investment strategy launched last March. This whole-of-government framework provides direction for trade and investment priorities for 2025. At its heart is the need for policy alignment, coordinated action and complementary in delivering our goals. These include greater investment, tourism, trade, stronger links with the diaspora and enhanced global visibility.
He comes in, I'm sure the House would wish me to congratulate the Minister of State on her recent marriage and to wish her every good health and happiness.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
You have.
And I was going to be very difficult with her. How can I do that now? But congratulations. Congratulations on your wedding, not on your answer. Because with all due respect, I know you're stepping in for Minister Coveney here today. The response that you've given is pretty much the same response that I got to a parliamentary question last week. Now, what I really want to know is, was there welcome an announcement by the Taoiseach of a commitment to increase our diplomatic and business footprint across the world? Like currently, we've 61 embassies, 7 multilateral missions, 11 consulate generals. We probably have about just over 80 offices across the world. Taoiseach says he wants to double that. So we want to double that, then we're going to 160. But what plans have actually been put in place? What costings? Are there any priorities? He said the time span runs up to 2025. But when will we see the first new embassies open? I fear very much from this is that this is just another one of Leo Varadkar's announcements. All it is for publicity. He's in Canada with his friend. He announces, I'm going to double the global footprint. We ask serious questions and several questions whilst welcoming the announcement to try to actually get a handle on, is there anything behind this? And in this instance, there doesn't appear to be. So I would like to know what meetings have taken place between the Department of Foreign Affairs and the Department of the Taoiseach. Have we any draft plan? Will the Minister actually be submitting a plan to either the Foreign Affairs Committee or indeed here to the House so that that can be discussed? And when will the first new embassies actually open?
Deputy is right. Ireland currently has 80 diplomatic and consular offices. We have 961 diplomatic people employed abroad. We have relations with 178 different countries. When the Taoiseach speaks about doubling its footprint, it's not necessarily doubling the number of offices. It's doubling our budget for that matter. It's ensuring that what we have currently is working and that we can make things work more efficiently. So, for example, in a city where we have 4 or 5 different offices operating in 4 or 5 different buildings, how can we make that work better by bringing everybody together? How can we make sure that they are connected properly? With regards to time frame and making that work, the department is currently working on reviewing what we currently have, what's working, what's not, where we can expand our footprint, and we would expect the initial report to be published by November. Now, I'm not sure whether that will go directly to a committee or whether it will be published by the Minister himself, but we should see the initial report by November.
Yeah, that seems to be a departure, Minister, from what the Taoiseach said. In any person's language, doubling is doubling. It's as simple as that. We lag behind comparable European countries with the network of embassies that we have. When you compare ourselves to countries like Denmark and Belgium and others, we have less. So when we hear the announcement, that's something that should be welcome. Now I hear from you, doubling actually doesn't necessarily mean that. It might be a consolidation. It might be using offices differently. The reality of it is, what I'd really like to know is, was the Minister for Foreign Affairs actually made aware beforehand that the Taoiseach was going to make the announcement, given that it does have massive implications for the Department of Foreign Affairs? Is work actually underway to identify regions, countries or markets for Ireland to expand into? Because, you know, and are there any additional resources actually allocated into next year, any additional monies, to actually start this doubling of the footprint? Because from your response here today, it actually tells me that there's nothing behind this announcement. Not a great surprise, I might add, but if the Taoiseach and the Government are committing to expanding the diplomatic footprint, they either do it, they show the plan, they don't just announce it when they're abroad to make themselves look good in front of another Prime Minister. This is too serious. Ireland needs to look further afield, particularly with Brexit happening and looking at new markets, and I would welcome that. But we need concrete answers.
Minister.